General Consom Himalaya Singh, welcome to Fauji Days and thank you for talking to us. I know you've just landed from the United States and the situation in Manipur is very much on the boil and you have been very concerned about it. We have spoken about it on the phone. Um, Quite frankly, Kate, as somebody who's very invested in the Northeast, having spent a lot of time in Manipur, I love everything about the area. I love all, whether it's the Kukis, the Nagas, the Meiteis, whatever. And yet there is, there's so much coming out in the media, etc. It's actually, even for a person like me who has a fair idea about these communities, etc. I really in the dark. We really have no idea actually what is actually going on. So can you enlighten us a bit, please?
Kunal, first of all, right from 3rd of May, for about 5 to 6 days, it was mayhem going on there. So we'll not go back into that. Right now, the situation is as follows. One is that the violence level have come down drastically, but violence level coming down doesn't have any correlation or direct correlation with peace coming up, peace being restored. So I still say that emotional divide, then the emotions are running very high, and there are uh, a few hundred weapons which have been stolen from the government, from the police, as well as from the SU groups. SU is suspension of operation groups. So if you can imagine when hundreds of weapons are roaming around freely in the in the peripheries of Manipur, that is a very very dangerous situation still. B, administration and governance is limping back to normalcy, but it requires lot of effort to actually see some progress on ground. The problem of when these 70 odd dead bodies, when they are taken to their respective villages or respective areas, the emotions are also going to be extremely high. So, as of now, the Assam Rifles, the Indian Army, are doing an extremely great job in spite of the very difficult situation. And the CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces, and Manipur Police are also doing their bit.
Yes, what exactly is the problem? I mean,
Yeah, Kunal.
there's talk about reservations, there's talk about emotions running high, etc. But in a nutshell, what are the core issue here? Why are the cookies and the Maitis clashing with each other? And everybody seems to think the Nagas are also involved. From my understanding, Nagas are not involved in this.
Very good question. In fact, it's a very, very good question because I find in the social media that various narratives are going around. One narrative going around is a religious issue. No, it is not. Burning of a few churches and a few temples does not mean that it is a religious issue. Definitely not. It might have contributed in that heat of mob mentality. Some churches and some temples have been burned, but that is not the issue. The second point is people are making it out as tribal versus non-tribal. Again, I would like to say, you yourself said that Nagas, as on ground, the Nagas are not involved in this so far. In the sense, therefore, it proves the point that that is not a tribal versus non-tribal issue. It is more to do with the ethnicity and identity issues. It is about fear psychosis of existence, with respect. It is about loss of their control, loss of their territory, loss of their identity. These are the main issues. To be specific, I will list about 5 or 6 points. Actually, everything has come together. Issues of from the official side, you must have seen in various social media, the poppy plantations, then illegal migrants, then you talk about the settlement, illegal settlement in forest areas, and other such issues are coming out from the establishment side as well. That's what I could see. On the other hand, the cookies claim that the governance issues are lacking, their people are suffering, their development issues are not being looked after. Then they are being neglected politically as well. They don't have much of their legitimate political power and economic power. So, and also they also claim that uh, whatever their rights are being challenged by the establishment. So both sides have stories, but according to me, one core issue is the issue of identity, survival of the group, ethnic identity. I think to preserve that, you require territory, you require resources, you require laws, you require protection, you require certain empowerment. So these are more critical as far as my views are concerned.
Cookies have always in Manipur. I mean, I remember, by and large, they were in the outer areas. If you really look at the map of Manipur, you have the Imphal Valley, which has the Methi population and about 10% of the total land area of Manipur. I may be wrong on the figures. Then you have the immediate peripheral hill areas where the Naga tribes are, and then the Kukis have actually been more and more have always been a little bit more isolated, and therefore development has taken much longer to reach them. In any case, I think that has been a thing. But why is it at this point of time, why is it boiling over?
Yeah, Kunal, you are absolutely right. Uh, Little going back to your first part of the discussion. Actually, cookies were a wandering race in the sense that they did not have, they had a culture of shifting cultivation, they had a culture of establishing one village, and then shift to another area. You must have heard about Zoom cultivation, and so this was the way it was. So the cookie population is spread. I wouldn't say cookies only; I'll say Chin cookie group. They are in Myanmar. In fact, Mizoram has got a large population. In fact, Mizoram is solid, Jo people. That is, same Chin Kuki, Jo, Jomi. And Nagaland, even Nagaland have got, certain Nagaland have got cookies. Myanmar has got cookies. And in Manipur, it is mostly in the southern part, but in the peripheries, eastern and western peripheries. So basically, these are that. And I say that yes, the governance issue for the last many years is not related to recent issues. Many issues, the hills have been lagging behind, but it is not to say that entire state is progressing. Imphal Valley is progressing alone. No, no, no. It is Manipur is a very poor, economically very very dependent on the center. So therefore, it's a in terms of relative terms, yes. So that is the problem that cookies face. Yeah.
What do you? I mean, you think this could have been avoided? I mean, were there any mistakes, obvious kind of blunders or mistakes made, which could have? I mean, with hindsight, it's always easy to talk, but could things have been handled differently?
Uh, I The mistakes or whatever it is, it can only come out in an official inquiry. But by my initial impression is that there are few issues such as intelligence. Intelligence people should have warned. I don't know whether they were, if they had any, they were with the government. They shared it with the government, And also, I do believe that the establishment could have been a little more proactive. Having taken out Armed Forces Special Power Act from many parts of Valley in particular, it was a very, very weak spot as far as the timing is concerned. So the establishment could have been both, intelligence establishment as well as local establishments in Manipur could have been a little more proactive, and we could have done because things were building up over a period of time. The trigger was, people say, was on the 3rd of May, but it was building up in a way for last few months. That, and also it has got a lot of. Having said that, there are many legacy issues, historical, the geographical issues, economic issues, which have been, for a long time. In fact, in the 1960s, they had called for, even now, I heard that, they are calling for Greater Mizoram, and some those 10 MLAs
Mm.
who have signed a petition that they don't want to be part of Manipur and things like that. So I feel that it could have been handled a little more sensitively by the government and the intelligence establishment, both in the center and state.
How do you kind of what are your views on what should be done now? I mean, how do you really stabilize? I know they are doing all that, what everybody's trying very hard, but what's the immediate thing that needs to be done?
Uh, in the long term, I'll say, in the long term, I'm more concerned about the national security of, uh, you know, I'll say the national security is paramount. So, 1,762 kilometers of porous border
Yeah.
in Myanmar, and with the instability in Myanmar, and also the Indo-China relationship in the Arunachal and Sikkim, and so there is a huge security concern even in terms of national security, because if the internal security also becomes volatile, then the external security will become that much more disadvantaged as far as we are concerned. So, therefore, I would like to say things like, managing the external environment right from Myanmar to Bhutan to, Bangladesh, and such like issues need a very detailed this. I'm talking about long term. In the long term, one needs to think about what will be the outcome or otherwise of the Naga talks are going on for last 22 years. The valley based insurgent groups, many of them are in Myanmar still, and no talks as yet. From there is no sign of talks. And in the with the cookie groups, nearly, I think it was 23 or 25 of the small groups. So the entire northeast, particularly along the Indo-Myanmar belt, is a very sensitive area now. So therefore, this is a very sensitive issue. But your question relates to what should be done immediately and the long term. The long term is that what should immediately be addressed, to my mind, is the violence have to be curtailed to a you know uh, to a still, like you have to ensure that houses are not burnt, the roads are not blocked. You have to One has to ensure that those people, displaced people, go back to their homes wherever they were. As of now, they have not gone back home, thousands of them. So these are the immediate issues. And also, I feel that there should be some kind of a reaching out. Because why I say center is that the Sioux groups are mainly controlled by the uh, central agencies. You know, so the Sioux groups have to be got into the act of bringing down peace, reaching out to these MLAs who have expressed their great displeasure, and not only displeasure, very great dissent In fact, they have gone to the extent of saying that will not like to be part of any administrative arrangement of Manipur. So therefore, reaching out to them, and Manipur government cannot right now. I think it will be this is where the center comes into being. With their influence. Then I also feel that some kind of a peace initiatives, some kind of a reconciliation initiative have to be done, not only on political but civil society groups and various groups. I can the army and the Assam Rifle, they are doing at very local levels, but it has to be taken up in a official manner.
Yeah.
And immediate requirement is to not only, I mean, send back all these people who are outside, who have been displaced in a very, very respectable manner to their homes and to their rebuild. So many houses have been burned. The figure that I was told was about 2,000, approximately 2,000 houses. So the government has announced a lot of initiatives, some compensation and all, some 5 lakh rupees, and various for those injured, for those dead, houses burnt. So these have to be implemented on ground.
Yeah.
Only then, and this can be done only if there is a proper law and order situation. And currently, even the police, I believe, is also highly divided on ethnic lines. So therefore, I see the army and the Assam Rifles playing a major role in this.
That was going to be my next question to you about security forces being divided on ethnic lines. The Assam Rifles basically has also, in many ways, somewhat diluted over the last few years, especially if you look at the area south of Palel, right up till the Tidim Road. That is most of that area has very little security presence. If you actually go along the Myanmar border, at least that was the case about 8, 9 years ago when I was shooting there. When you're looking at Jupi and all those areas, a very inhospitable country. So I mean, it's not easy to operate there.
Yeah, you're right. Assam Rifles have got a dual role of border guarding. They are the border guarding force for these 1,760 odd kilometers in, as well as the counter-insurgency
Yeah, yeah.
responsibility. So my concern is that their strength is appears to be inadequate
L- l-
to meet these two guarding as well as counterinsurgency. So as of now, they are doing well, but for particularly this, this border has got FMR. There is also a there's also a challenge, how to guard the border when you have a free movement regime between Myanmar and India.
Exactly,
So these are
exactly.
some of the issues, and I agree with you. Having said that, I think they are managing quite well so far, given the circumstances. Yeah.
Well, let's hope so. But do you see in a way the ethnic, I mean, this clash which suddenly erupting, it's in many ways it's a feeling of having been transported back, because just when you began to feel that the look east policy was paying dividends. I mean, I've just come back from Arunachal and I'm seeing the development on the ground. You can see the roads coming up, you can see all kinds of things happening. But yet, it also underlines the fact just how fragile the whole system in the Northeast really is. I mean, this kind of a thing could possibly erupt anywhere. If you really look at the challenges of exploding populations, if you you know whether it's the Chakmas, whether it's this or that, whatever. The fact is, this the Northeast has always had this moving populations and instability. So, what's your overall view for the Northeast and is there a danger of this spreading further?
Kunal, this is a very important issue which you have raised. But there are many threats, particularly from the angle of internal security, from the militancy and, even towards the Myanmar side. Having said that, I still feel that look look in the sense that the governance center will have to play a major part in this once again. And though there are threats, I think we have then by having at least the governance, ensuring that governance is more responsive, more, I won't say governance is more tightly uh, controlled at various stages, at various levels. So I think we can still manage by tensions, volatility of the area. There is a threat. Progress is being made. The highways are coming up in a very significant manner, and various projects are being, railways are coming up to Manipur. So all these are opportunities, but we have to make sure that the threats which are likely to come up because of all these unfortunate and unwanted incidents have to be managed by, India is a big country. I have full confidence in that, and a very powerful country. So we can't let such a some militants. I mean, that's my view.
Well, I know. Well, Kate, you've been the first lieutenant general from this area, from the northeast, and you've also been involved with the civil administration. So, thank you very much for your insights to what is actually happening there. Anything else you'd like to dwell upon, which I may not have been able to ask you? Because
Kunal, thank you very much. I have said a few things, little more, little maybe hard hitting, but I feel that is the truth. I am going back and meeting a lot of people from tomorrow onwards, so I will get little more into the details. So far, I was not on the ground, I was only receiving inputs. So from the ground, I will get little more objectively, little more from a practical point of view. Thank you very much, Kunal.
once you're back there, maybe we'll have another session once you've got your nose closer to the reality of what's happening at home. I wish you all the very best in trying to do whatever you can, Kate, and I'm sure you have a very important role to play. And all I can do is pray for the people of Manipur and just hope better sense prevails. And as you said, national security is paramount, and the state is such an integral part of this country that we just can't afford any fault lines there. Thank you very much, Kate.